Welcome back to the big picture.
Yes, we have
On
Meredith
Plus, it's
Garfolo
Tuesday.
with us.
Woo-hoo! And Tuesdays
Space
means
Tuesday.
space time.
Yes, with the rock girl. Well, we're talking about space junk, aren't we?
I know. I mean, you got to think about it. There's a lot of junk out there, but it's way out there.
Yeah.
It's up in space, and actually it's currently orbiting Earth. And you may not know this, but there's a lot more that gets added even daily with galactic piles of thousands of satellites. We've got space rocket bodies, fragments of debris. It's literally going around faster than you can imagine our planet. That also creates risk for our GPS systems, for all of our communications, but also for future space missions. So,
And you spoke to someone at Cedarville. Who did you speak to about all of
Dr.
this?
George Landon, get this, he is the head of computer science and cyber operations at Cedarville University, but he's also working with the Center for Space Situational Awareness Research, CSSAR. It's at the United States Air Force Academy, and he's going to actually talk to us about how you can take space debris and start to remove it by identifying it and classifying it using a ground-based telescopic data.
Huh. All right.
Fascinating.
Take a listen.
Yeah, let me get that pulled up real quick.
It's out of this world. Pun intended. We are always thinking about what's happening here on Earth, but what about what's happening above us? You may not realize this, but there are old satellites, there are pieces from different sort of technology. We call it space debris. That's what's going on and circling our planet in what I like to call a graveyard orbit. But so what can we do about that? Just like we have to take out the trash here on Earth, we got to think about what we can do about all that trash that's above us. And so joining me now is Dr. George Landon. He is the head of computer science and cyber operations at Cedarville University. We're so happy to have you. You're working with the Center for Space Situational Awareness Research at the United States Air Force Academy, and you're actually trying to improve how this debris is identified and we can classify it. Why is that so important?
Yeah, there is a lot of it, as you mentioned, and a lot of it's left over. So no one really cares about it because it's trash. However, it does affect new missions. Anything else we're doing in space, we kind of need to know what's going on up there and avoid colliding with it. So anything we can do from the ground using telescopes to identify it and just to avoid it. There's additional work that's done to deorbit these things as well. And we need to understand how it's moving and just, get a better idea of what's going on up there.
So exciting that you're taking part of this project here in Central Ohio. Why should your average person care about the work that you're doing with this space junk?
Yeah, we don't pay attention a whole lot, right? Because our general life, we're on Earth. But yeah, things like GPS that we use all the time, anytime you're navigating with your phone.
Oh yeah.
You're relying on that. Things like internet connectivity is companies like Starlink or SpaceX that uses Starlink. We're using space more and more just in everyday life. So those things are more important than ever now.
So what goes into some of the research you're doing and what you're putting into this? Because I know there's a lot of people that also talk a lot about how AI is being moved in and how that's sort of leading the way. Is there a happy balance? Is it one way versus the other, especially in this day and age?
Yeah, so it's difficult. Space is huge, and orbit is a really large area. So using traditional telescopes makes it pretty difficult. A lot of times we're curious about huge things like large automotive size piece of debris. Other times we're curious about smaller, almost like the size of your fist, right? So smaller pieces of debris, and using even really expensive telescopes, nice ones. They're hard to observe and to kind of resolve and understand what those are. So we use software. We use a lot of computer science algorithms to better understand what those are using traditional telescopes.
That's so fascinating. You normally think of a telescope just to look at the stars, find the planets, but it's actually doing so much more. And this is a problem that is going to continue to grow. I mean, we think about how many companies are having launches and putting things up into space, or how many satellites are getting decommissioned. Why is it important to get this research done now versus wait for a little bit longer when we're adding more and more and more junk to the already big orbit that's happening?
Yeah, so adding more, we are exponentially increasing the number of objects in space. And these are things we're tracking. We understand what they are because we're in control of them. But the second, maybe a collision occurs, which is not often, but when a collision would occur with space debris, it creates many, many more pieces of space debris. So we have to keep tracking the smaller pieces that come off of any kind of collision that could occur. So it's important that we're, as we're putting more operational, vehicles, satellites in orbit that are important to us. They're doing functional things, but we have to, again, avoid more and more debris at that point.
And this project that you're taking part of, I think it's really exciting because I see there are also students at Cedarville University that are helping you with this. So they're getting this real life experience through something that could be changing the course, full pun intended, of what's happening above us.
Exactly. I mean, this is very much, they understand what's going on. They understand this is really important. And they're able to apply things they're learning in the classroom directly to very much applied work. I mean, this is really important research that we're working on. And yeah, it's fun to be able to move things from the classroom into real world operations.
And I love that all of that is happening here in Central Ohio, which is, as we saw in 2025, a very big growing aerospace community and hub for bringing other big companies here from across the United States.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
no, it is. Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, Dr. George Landon from Cedarville University, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for sharing this aspect with us of some things that are happening here close to home that are protecting us from above.
Hello? Awesome. That was great stuff.
Well, you don't really think about it. I mean, we take out the garbage here every week on Earth, but if you think about it, that garbage is just sitting up in space, and the last thing you want is an old piece of a rocket to somehow get bumped, and next thing you know, it's coming into our atmosphere or hitting a satellite or something else out there that could literally mess up our pictures that we're getting from space.
Wow. I think we always, well, maybe it's just me. I don't want to speak for everyone here, but like you forget that the satellites are the reason why we have GPS, why our phones work, why we have all of this. So it's very, very interesting.
Yes, and all that, they call it a graveyard orbit because it's literally a graveyard in space of all these different pieces of junk and rockets and satellites and whatever's up there.
Well, I guess good thing we've only had meteors come down recently and not a piece of an old rocket, right?
I know. Oh, that could be worth millions of dollars.
Well,
so you can go to eBay.
Space junk from the 70s. All right, Meredith, thank you so much.